have, but we're going to do car accidents today.
Any lawyers present?
What? Are you going to ask them all to leave? Okay. So we started the Gemara last time. One just walked in.
There's another one there, we have two.
We have two there.
That means we have three valid opinions.
Someone sitting here?
No.
Okay, so we discussed the Machlekes Rashi Rambam and how we pass it. Regarding the sugya of Shneim Shaloi Bershos. And when you're in the Rishos of the Mazik, you're not in the Rishos of the Mazik. So we saw the Gemara. I think you have that Gemara. It's on Memches Amud Beis. The way Rashi paskins is Shneim Bershos or Shneim Shaloi Bershos. Two people have Rishos, two people don't have Rishos. It's like there's an insert, I think, in the extra Gemaras. Gemara Bava Kama. So Shneim Bershos or Shneim Shaloi Bershos. So the Rashi says Hiziku zeh chayavin, husku zeh pturin. That's our Rashi paskins. What does Hiziku zeh means if both were moving? Who's one is called the Hiziku. Okay. The stationary guy is called Husku. Fine. But that's Rashi Shita, and we discussed last time how we pass on Shulchan Aruch. If you want to take a look in the pamphlet, we just crossed it over quickly. It's all the way at the end of the pamphlet in the Shulchan Aruch. It's page 30. It's Siv Zion. And it says, "Hayu shneim bershos, shneim shaloi bershos, v'huzku zeh bazeh, bein begufim bein b'manim." So two people are jogging in a park, and assuming they're allowed to jog there, so they're both bershos. Or if you're not allowed to jog there, they're both shaloi bershos. And then they bump into each other. Bein begufim bein b'manim, im lo yodu zeh bazeh pturim. One didn't see the other one; they're both potter. But if it's hiziku zeh zeh, if they damage each other, biyadayim. One of them damaged the other one. Ava bishlo kivnu chayavim. Lefikach shnaim shayirotzim b'shos rab moishay mahachim v'husku zeh b'zeh pturin. Hiziku zeh zeh chayavim. So if one of them gets damaged from the other, meaning he tripped over the other one, or whether he's potter, but if one of them damages the other one, he will be chayiv. Okay, and that's the klal. So let's just take in the case of a park. So I'm sitting down having a picnic, which is okay. You are playing ball. You found some more of them? Okay. You are playing ball. So we're both bershos. I'm having a picnic. You're playing ball. It's permitted. So the halacha would be that if while you're playing ball, you're running and you trip over my picnic bag, or whatever, you trip over you trip over me. I'm sitting down there and you didn't see me, and you trip over me. You were huzak in me. So, Potter, I don't have to pay for that. I didn't do anything wrong by sitting here. You should watch where you're going. But if, you're playing ball and you throw the ball and it hits me in the head, so even though you're bershos, but you're mazik me, so hiziku zeh chayavim. That's the klal. Now, there's legabi car accidents. There's another Mishnah that we have to learn, okay? The other Mishnah brings up a new rule. It brings up a new rule, and that's going to determine a lot b'negei car accidents. So that Mishnah, I think it was copied. It's on Lamed Aleph Amud Beis, but the bottom of Lamed Aleph Amud Beis, and you have the Mishnah there. Zeba b'chavisoi v'zeba b'kar. It's gevaldik how you could take a beam and a jug and apply it to car accidents, and apply it to all sorts of amazing things. So the principles remain the same. So you have a 2-lane walking path, and one guy's carrying his chavis, which is a jug, one guy's carrying a beam, and nishbar kadosh shel zeh b'karasha shel zeh. So it's the kadosh shel zeh, they were both going bershos. Potter, he's potter. Now, you'll tell me, why are you potter in this case? Shel zerish sahalach. Well, zerish sahalach is both no one's doing anything wrong. They're both walking innocently. But didn't we say before that hiziku zeh chayavim? So the answer is that when the energy of the hezek is happening from both people, they both hit each other, that's not called hiziku, that's called husku. That's called, since the nizik also the nizik provided some of the energy that caused the accident, so that's called the husku zeh bozeh. That's called that they ended up getting damaged from one another. It's not called hiziku zeh zeh. Because I was also walking, and therefore it's almost like, the guy with the kad bumped into the guy with the chavis, even though the guy with the kura. So even though the guy with the kura moved forward and provided energy for the hezek, the other guy, also did. So since they both provided the energy for the hezek, the halacha is that you're potter. And the reason is Haya bal koira rishain ubal chavis achroin. If the bal koira was first and the bal chavis was second. So in the first case was they were walking behind each other and they both gave the energy for the hezek. So that's called husku zeh bozeh. Since it's called husku zeh bozeh, with our principle that we had before, shnei and bershus, and it's husku zeh bozeh pturim. Good. Now we're going to switch the case. It's a one-lane highway. There's no one in the front. There's no one. I didn't say that. That's exactly what I'm saying. They're not. They're walking opposite each other.
They're walking towards each other.
So since they're walking towards each other, it's a two-way street, and they're walking towards each other and bump into each other. So that's called husku zeh bozeh because they're both providing. Now we're switching the case. It's a one lane, and one is walking one in front of the other. So the one that's we'll see who's the one that's called the mazik here. So, Haya bal koira rishain ubal chavis achroin. So now, the bal chavis is the one that's going to get damaged. His chavis is going to break, and he's behind the bal koira. He's behind the owner of the beam. So what's the halacha? Nishbra chavis bakoira, and the chavis broke because he bumped into the koira. So now the bal koira didn't do an act of hezek. The Bal Chavis was mazik himself in the Korah. So that's called husku zeh bozeh, potter. But potter Bal Korah. The Bal Korah is potter. Next page. Bal Korah is moving in front, but the Bal Chavis bumped into him from behind. So now the Bal Chavis is responsible for the hezek that he caused to himself. But, says the Gemara, the Mishnah on the next page, Lamed Beis Amud Aleph, Im Amad Bal Korah. But if the Bal Korah stopped, Chayev, he has to pay. Now, this that he has to pay, the Gemara says before, it's a Gemara before, that's only when he stopped lofush, he stopped to rest. He didn't really have permission to stop. So since he didn't have permission to stop, he became shaloi bershus over here. So even though because think about what happened here. Who provided all the energy for the hezek? Only the back guy. Because he was holding the chavis, he was holding the barrel, and he's walking into the pole. The pole's walking in front of him. The pole didn't back up and hit him. So the pole didn't really provide any energy for the hezek. All the energy of the hezek was provided by the bal chavis. The bal chavis is walking, and he bumps his chavis into the pole. So now it's really husku zeh bozeh. So if there would be both bershus, the halacha would be that it would be potter. So the Gemara makes a distinction. Why did the guy in front stop? Did he have permission to stop, or did he not have permission to stop? So there's two types of stoppings. There's sometimes you stop lakatef, you stop to fix your baggage. If you're stopping to fix your baggage, so it's understood that people aren't going to walk straight the whole time. They may stop for a minute, tie your shoelaces, whatever. You have to fix it. So when you're walking behind someone, you got to take note that maybe they're going to, they're going to have to fix up their bag. But if he stopped lofush, if he stopped to rest, you can't rest with a pole sticking out of your shoulder. You can't rest in the middle of the Rosh Hashanah. If you did, you became shaloi bershus. What's the rule when echad is bershus ve'echad shaloi bershus? The rule is that even if the bershus guy was huzak in the Eina bershus guy, then the Ein B'Rishus guy has to pay, even though he didn't do any energy for the hezek. He didn't do anything. He just there, and the nizik did all of the hezek himself. He's the Baal Koyer would still have to pay. Okay. Fine. Let's switch the case. But here the Gemara says a very important mission. The Mishnah says something important. V'im Amar lebal chavis. This could change everything. V'im Amar lebal chavis. He stopped to rest. He's shaloi b'rishus. He had no permission to be there. But he yelled out and said, "I'm stopping. Hey, buddy, watch out. I'm stopping." So now he shifted, even though he's shaloi b'rishus. But now he shifted achrayis back to the Baal Chavis, and now the Baal Chavis is chayiv. If the Baal Chavis will not get reimbursed for the hezek. Okay? So in other words, this is very important. So if we would take this right here, just as we go along, just to apply it so we understand what we're talking about. So what we would say is like this. Two people are driving, and they're both driving legally, and one guy stops. Now, it's common to stop, but maybe he stopped too short or something like that. Now, the guy behind him hit him. Okay? So, let's talk about the hezek that happens to the guy in the back first. So, his taina is, what you stopped in the middle of the street. And because you stopped in the middle of the street, I hit you. And now the front of my car is all damaged. So, how would we pass in the case? So first of all, we have to say, did the front guy have permission? Did he stop short? Did he do something wrong? Let's say he stopped short. He wasn't supposed to stop that way. So l'chayra, the guy in the back did nothing wrong, and he's b'rishos. The other guy's shaloi b'rishos, and the guy in front would have to pay for the damage to the car in back of him. However, the poskim say that if you have lights, brake lights, it's like being meidia him. You told him you stopped because you have lights. You have brake lights on the back of your car. So it wasn't a surprise to him that you stopped.
If you stop at a stop sign or a red light, you don't need to.
B'rishus. You're still b'rishus.
That's b'rishus.
Right.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. I'm talking about two people driving, guy stopped short.
In the case of the Korah, what if he yelled at him to stop, but he stopped so suddenly?
Okay, yeah.
So it's the same thing.
It has to be that there was enough time that had you paid attention to my brake lights, you could have
So
stopped.
maybe the same thing.
Yeah. If you couldn't have, then not. But that would be a very simple application of this Mishnah. Okay? Now, Vim Amar lebal chavis amoid, and we told the Baal Chavis, stop, potter. Now, let's switch the case. Haya Baal Chavis, Rishon, Baal Koyer Achre. Now, the guy that get damaged is in the front. The guy with the chavis is in the front, and the guy with the koira is in the back. Nishbra chavis b'koira chayiv. So obviously, if the Baal Koira is walking too quickly and his beam breaks the barrel, he has to pay. That's obvious. What if the guy in front stopped? So then he became shaloi b'rishos because he stopped for no reason. Now, even if the guy in front of him damaged him, it's potter because shaloi b'rishos, you have no claim. Potter. If he told him, chayiv is chayiv.
And it's not considered a ziku?
Yeah, but shaloi b'rishos.
The ziku is not b'rishos.
Echad b'rishos, echad shaloi b'rishos. Even hiziko is potter. No, that's shnei b'rishos, shnei shaloi b'rishos. But echad b'rishos, echad shaloi b'rishos. Then the b'rishos guy is mazik. It's still potter. Rashi ra'o, not ra'o, whatever. Okay, so that's the halacha. Now there's one more. Okay, so basically, once you see this Mishnah, so everything should really be pretty straightforward. That when it goes back to that principle, if you're b'rishos, are you b'rishos or are you shaloi b'rishos? What's the rule over here? Now, if you read the Mishnah simply, we are putting all of the responsibility on the guy in the back to watch where he's going. Why can't you argue, look, I'm sorry, no. We're putting no responsibility on the guy in the back. We're saying if the guy in the front stopped and he had no permission to stop, then you could continue walking and it's not your fault. And if your chavis breaks into his koira and he had no permission to be there, he has to pay you. Right? There's a question on that because the Gemara is misupik about that. It's not so clear. One could have argued What do you mean? Look, there's another lane right there. You could have gone around me. Why are you placing all the responsibility on the guy in the front for stopping, and you're not placing any responsibility on the guy in the back for not watching where he's going? But that's what the Gemara seems to say. There's a machlokes in the Gemara, but we paskin that way. We paskin that the responsibility when two people are going in a street, a one-way highway, one way, all the responsibility is on the guy in the front. As long as the guy in the back is driving regularly, he's not mechuyev to assume that there's people doing strange things in front of him. And therefore, if the guy in front of him does something shaloi bershos, you can't place the responsibility on the guy in the back.
It's interesting because U.S. law is the exact opposite.
Right, U.S. law is it goes on who's ever moving. No?
No, what was in the rear?
Like I'm saying, the guy that's moving. So there's a machlokes in the Gemara, that's the truth. The Gemara says clearly that Rish Lakish holds like that, and Rish Lakish says that the case of the Mishnah is only when the guy in the front blocked the whole street. So there was nowhere for the person behind him to go. And the beam was placed in a position that it was on along the width of the entire street. That's what the Gemara says according to Rish Lakish. But we'll see in the Shulchan Aruch did not mention it, and the Vilna Gaon says that's because we don't pass it like that, Rish Lakish. So Rish Lakish does switch a little bit the responsibility that way. But you're saying American law is that what?
You have two cars going. The one in the rear is always there. The one in the front made a short stop.
The person who had the last potential
The last
possibility to
car.
prevent it.
Regardless of what the front car.
That's why I said. Is Pshat when
Unless he reverses
when
into it.
What?
Unless he reverses into it.
Right. But I'm saying it could be, it will depend on the brake lights and that type of story. But yeah, what?
when the Rishon says I'm stopping, is Pshat that he becomes Bershus?
No.
Or that the second guy is Posheach?
Right. It's not that he's Bershus, but once he tells him, then even Echa Bershus, Echa Shel Bershus, like the Gemara said, if you see me and once you know I'm here and you become aware that I'm Shel Bershus, then it becomes your responsibility. Now, the Gemara does not talk about fakir. Does that mean now that he has to pay for the other guy's damage? That we didn't discuss that really. I mean, that's the first yeah, it does, because it says if the Baal Chavis is first and he warns him, then so Zalmi, it would come out that Lamaisa were not so different really, because at the end of the day, the Gemara says that at the end of the day, the Mishnah says that if you warn the person in back, now the responsibility shifts to the guy in the back. So, like I said, I saw in some of the poskim in that sefer he says that brake lights is maybe considered a warning. So.
Enough of a warning. I mean, we have a rule that the guy in the back should be responsible enough not to follow so closely that he doesn't have time to stop in case.
So that's a whole different rule. So now we're going to get to that in a second, okay? Because what happens if till now we were talking that it was the guy in the front was shaloi bershus, right? The guy in the front stopped with illegally. He was resting in the middle of the street, and the guy in the back is bershus. And since it's echad bershus, echad shaloi bershus, we put all the responsibility on the guy in the front, basically. But that's provided that the guy in the back is doing what he's supposed to be doing legally. If he's also shaloi bershus, so now it's shneim shaloi bershus. Now we go back to the rule. Shneim shaloi bershus. If one gets damaged by the other one, they're both pater. So if the guy in the back was following too closely, with a following distance that was too close, so then he becomes shaloi bershus also. And now shneim shaloi bershus says huskuz zebazes p'tur. So Mamela, you're right. If the guy in the back was following too closely, he cannot be considered bershus anymore. Now he's shaloi bershus, so now it becomes huskuz zebazes p'tur. And that's called husku because he got damaged through him. Right? So it would really depend. Now, we said last week, and the Olam was on a question, but I saw in this farm the Takasei Beferish, that even though we're not going with Dina de Malchus Adina over here, we're not saying do what We're saying two Jews got involved in an accident. We're going to paskin it based on Bezdin. We're not going to go with the legal, responsibility. However, in defining what the nature of Rishus and Shaloi Rishus is, you go by the permission given by the state of how to use the roads. Because they are the ones that are determining who has permission to use the roads in what way. And therefore you can't say, well, everyone goes like this. No, it doesn't work that way. So Echad Rishus, Echad Shaloi Rishus will go by the legal definition of what's considered Rishus and Shaloi Rishus. Okay? So now, okay? So if we go into the Shulchan Aruch, we'll see how this is very clear. Now, let's just give another example. What would you say an example where I have a green light, I'm going straight, and someone makes a left turn when they're not allowed to. It's red or whatever. So he's crossing the red. It's just simple. He crosses the red, I'm on green, and the guy in the green hits the guy going through on the red. So it's hiziku, it's not husku, because the guy in the green provided all the energy into the accident. And the guy in the red is the one that got damaged. So the guy going on the green, does he have to pay? Right, so, Zalmi, what's in that case, legally? The guy in the green? Right. So halachically, let's analyze it. The guy running the green is Bershus. The guy running the red is Shalei Bershus. Generally, if you just have the rule of the Mishnah, Echad Bershus, Echad Shalei Bershus, then and the Bershus guy is Mazik, the Shalei Bershus, the Loch is his potter. However, we had a machloikis last week between Rashi and the Rambam. That if you're in the Rishus of the Mazik, you're literally in the Rishus of the Mazik, is the Mazik responsible to pay any attention to the Shaloi Rishus? You came into my house, so Rashi says, yeah, as long as I saw you, now I'm responsible to make sure I don't Mazik you. Rambam says, no. If I'm in my own place, it's my place, so Memela,
Well, that's only B'shus
Mazik, B'shus the Mazik. When you're B'shus the Mazik, so the Rambam says that, no, even if he saw you, he's potter because it's his house. He doesn't have to go be careful how he behaves. But he's not allowed to mazik you b'kavana. Okay? Now, let's figure this out. I'm running the green, the other guys ran the red. Echad B'shus, Echad Shaloi B'shus. I'm definitely potter. But what happens if I saw him? And I'm assuming seeing means I saw him with enough time that technically I could have avoided him. I didn't act fast enough, whatever, but it would have been possible maybe to have avoided it. I thought I would be able to make it through. I saw him, but I'm like, you know what? I see him coming. I can do it. So you try to make it through, but you did see him, and you could have maybe stopped. You chose not to. So now, what? No, I'm not. I don't know kavanah lahazik him. I'm trying to walk through. No, but that's okay. I'm walking through. I'm continuing to walk through, despite the fact that I see him. Who? No, so what was that? So according to Rashi, you're probably bichayiv in that case now, because now you saw him, you should have avoided him.
Why is it maybe lavish?
No, because here.
Maybe lavish you see him.
What?
Maybe lavish you see him.
Not clear that that's you really did. You don't know that he stopped. He's walking in front of you. You've been walking in front of you for the last 10 minutes. You're not paying attention. He stopped. He didn't stop.
Saying
he's walking in front of you.
You weren't paying attention. He was walking in front of you. He stopped.
He walking in front. Ra'o means I saw the Shaloi B'shus. No, it could be different. I saw the Shaloi B'shusness. I saw him. I saw the Shaloi B'shus kind of him. Over here, he's walking in front of me in the last 10 minutes. No brake lights. I see his guy in front of me. And then I continue learning my Mishnayos as I'm walking in the Chal. I don't see that he stopped.
Maybe the context is what? Meaning
He's B'shus now. It's not that I saw him better. It's not that I saw him better. It's just that he's B'shus.
That itself is a pillar. It's the same exact action.
It's the same exact thing, but since he's B'shus, he's allowed to do that. You can't blame people for being B'shus on that. So Mela, to a certain degree, that means that puts the responsibility on the Baal Chavis. You know that people will be stopping once in a while, so be more careful. Okay, fine. But So now,
So we throw the responsibility, he has to assume the guy's gonna pass.
oh, so you're asking a kasha, okay? This is a kasha, the maram, the maramshif. The achurim ask a kasha. If we're saying that when you're walking b'rshus, you still have to be careful from people doing things b'rshus. So why? So it's the same level of understanding on the shul b'rshus. What's the difference? It's a kasha. It's a good kasha. If I have to be salka daitach that someone's here b'rshus, why don't I have to be salka daitach that someone's here shul b'rshus?
I'm working on the edge of my roof. I'm working on my roof, and I have tools on the end of my roof. If it falls into the Rishus Rabbim, I'm chayiv, and if it falls into the Rishus Yaakov, I'm butter. It's the same roof. Kaylee, I left in the Rishus Yaakov. I'm taking responsibility. My actions have.
You're saying kachi dakar shel Torah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was that last expression?
And he's saying sometimes that's the rules and that's it. The Torah has. I was just saying sometimes the rules. The Torah has rules and you follow the rules. It doesn't always 100% line up the way we would think. But right, what were you asking? You saw him. No, that's what I'm saying. But here, the guy's not supposed to be in the intersection, but he's there. I see him. I saw that he's shaloi b'rshus. It's different in that case. I saw that he's shaloi b'rshus. However, some of the poskim want to say that the way the streets are set up is that a green light belongs to the people that have the right of way. So it's a shtickle Rishus HaMazik now. Because even though it's Rishus Ram, but it's only his, it's not the other guy's at all right now. He has no permission to be there.
It's machlokes Rashi Rambam.
Yeah.
That-
And we pass like the Rambam,
Meaning-
so you'll be
meaning
potter.
In the Rambam, we would have declared that since it's not Rishus HaMazik,
Until you're Machavin, you're not Yechayev.
So this will be a difference because according to the legal law, you have the last clear chance doctrine. Means if I could stop the car before I hit the other.
Right, that's what I'm saying. This would be a difference, right? The guy runs the green, the guy's going in the green, the guy's going in the red. Okay? And the guy in the green saw him with enough time, technically could have stopped. He made a decision that he's going to try to make it through, and he didn't make it through. He hit him.
Careful, as far as a stand your ground,
No, but the last clear chance doctrine.
So now, according to Rashi, L'char it's Pasha, since you saw him, you're chayiv, even though you're b'rshus. The guy running the green is chayiv. According to the Rambam, Yesh Loimar, not Yesh Loimar, according to the Rambam Zichar, the halacha is,
You could say that maybe Rishus Rabbim.
no, the Rambam himself. Now, we paskin like the Rambam only in some cases, but the Rambam himself would hold that the mazik is potter. When he's b'rshus, and basically he's doing what he's supposed to, then he's potter. He doesn't go with the zikuzet. He's potter, unless you're mechaber. We paskin like the Rambam went to the rishus of the mazik. So it could be the green light is called the rishus of the mazik, and therefore it would be machlokes Rashi Rambam. What would be the legal case? What would be the halacha legally?
I think if someone does something illegal, that moves.
I'm not sure that's true.
No, there's last.
Shmuel, what's the deal there?
Happened to me.
One guy runs the green, another guy's in the intersection, ran the red, and the guy who ran the green hit the guy that ran the red.
yeah, the guy who ran the red is at fault.
Yeah. Even if the guy that ran the green could have stopped him, could have stopped in time.
I think so, yeah.
Yes.
There's usually comparative fault.
Happened on the highway.
What?
There's usually comparative fault. In Florida, they compare how much fault each person had, and you could be liable for a percentage of your fault.
It says, like, the rule is if you hit somebody from behind, the guy in the back is always wrong, except the guy's driving on I-95 and he slams on the brake for no reason. You know,
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So
There's always-
I don't know about that. I don't know, but
I was driving and then someone pulled into the median. You're not, the median, like across where the cops sit to catch speeders. So you're not allowed to go in there. Only police are allowed to go in there. Someone pulled across me and I went into him. So he was held fully liable because he was doing something, even though I was coming behind, but he did cut across me to go into the median. So that's illegal. So then he was held.
Yeah, but you didn't have a chance that's because the cop, still, you didn't have a chance to avoid it. If you had a chance to avoid it, you can't aim at that guy because he's doing something wrong. You can only.
and sometimes I don't know. Basically, I don't know necessarily what the legal.
The truth is, they're probably both right, and the question is, it doesn't even matter. but if there's no, if it's like the Rambam deal, and there's no way to, then that's because it's statutory at that point, and there's no, it's not a legal principle.
Okay, so
that you can-
basically, we don't know what the legal. We don't know. Fine, but the bottom line is halachically, it would be machlokes Rashi Rambam. I would think. In the case where one guy is going on green, the other guy ran on red, and you could have technically, avoided it and you chose to continue, so you saw him, you could have stopped. Rashi would say you're chayiv, even though he's shaloi b'rshos. The Rambam would say no, you're potter, because echa b'rshos, echa shaloi b'rshos, even if you saw him, doesn't change that halacha. And in the Rishus and the Mazik, we pass like the Rambam, so that would be an interesting case. Okay, now.
The lashon of the Rambam, when the Rambam says it, is in all cases of not just Rishus and Mazik. He says it's flat out.
Yeah, which like we mentioned last time, the Kashan Rambam, where do you say other word loyal then?
Because the Gemara talks about that you have the right to throw him out.
Yeah.
They assume that doesn't mean it was just a rabbit.
Right. But that's the lashon of the Rambam.
Wait, if you don't throw him out, does that mean you're giving him reshus?
I mean, the question is the right of way become the Rishus and the Mazik? What? I could hear both ways. Okay. So let's chop around a few more minutes because I think pretty much this Marmakrimis is for Shinayin Ches, Shinayin Tes, and then there's a lot of other sugyas still in other mamazik we want to cover, but I want to try to finish this. So let's go to page 32, which is Siman Shin Ayin Tes, which is 3 seifim on these halachas. Okay, and like I said, we're going to be talking about a chavis and a kaira, but it applies equally to two cars driving. Okay, Shnayim. Page 32, Siman Shin Ayin Tes. Shnaim Shayu Mahalchim Rishus Harabim. Two people are walking in Rishus Harabim. In this case, they're walking opposite each other. Okay, two-way traffic. Zeba b'chavisav, Zeba b'kairas, a head-on collision. Upagu Zeba, and they're both Rishus. They just, they just hit each other. So Nishbar Chavis b'kaira. It's called Huzku Zeba Zeh. They're both completely Rishus. Potter Shel Zer Rishus Lahalach or Zer Rishus Lahalach. They're both permitted to do it. Somehow they hit each other. We don't really get what happened, and they're both potter. Again, I can't imagine legally that's the case. Legally, they would probably try to figure out who's at fault, whatever. But basically, if they're both bershus, they're potter. Okay, next case. That was when there was two-way traffic. Now the next two cases is there's one-way traffic. So Hayabal Kair Rishon Bal Chavis Achrain, and the guy that got damaged is in the back. Vinish Chavis Bakaira. So if he just went too fast and he bumped into him, he's potter. Vim Amad Bal Kaira Lanuach Mikoivin Masai. If the Bal Kaira stopped to rest, what? No, Lanuach to rest. So he has no permission to do that. Chayiv Vim Hizel Bal Chavis, and he told him, "Hello, I'm stopping." V'Amalai Moed Potter, and then he's potter. Vim Amad Lesakin Masoi, but if he stopped to fix his bundle, so he has permission. Afapi Shaloi he's here, even though you didn't tell him I'm about to stop. That line is questionable. I'll explain in a minute. Potter Shatar Hayav Loyal Lazir. Here the Mechaber is subject to a very big analysis. When the guy stopped in front to fix the baggage, he didn't stop short. He didn't stop illegally. He didn't stop in a way that makes him Shaloi Bershos. He stopped in a normal way, okay? But he had enough time that he could have warned the guy. So normally we said, if you stop with permission, it's Bershos. So what's the rule? Shneim Bershos, Huzku Zebazeb Turim. So if I'm Bershos, you're Bershos, and you bump into me, then you broke your chavis, I feel bad, but I stopped, and I stopped with permission, and I'm allowed to utilize the Rishus Rabbim in that way, because I'm just fixing my load. So then we're both potter. Then I'm potter. But but there's a connection Gemara does not talk about. What if he had enough time to warn the guy behind him and say, "Hey, I know that I'm allowed to. I'm just letting you know. By the way, I'm stopping, so you could take the precautions necessary." Do we put that responsibility on him or not? We say, "Look."
What is he gain from doing?
No, he doesn't gain. No, but maybe Adrabah. Maybe by not doing that, it becomes chayiv now. He's Bershus, but if you could warn the guy in front of you and you're not, that itself is a pshia. That itself that you could have warned him and you didn't, maybe that itself is a pshia. There's a certain level of negligence from that alone. You hear the point? The Mishnah doesn't discuss this, right? The Mishnah says the other way. The Mishnah says if you're Shaloi Bershus and you warned him, you become potter. I want to know the other way. And what if you're Bershus and you didn't warn him? You hear what I'm saying? Right? The other case was you're Shaloi Bershus. You stopped to rest, but you warned him, you absolve yourself from responsibility. What about the other way? I'm Bershus, but now do I become a chayiv if I could have warned him and didn't? So that's the line in the Shulchan Aruch he's saying. Afa pishloi he's hiroi. Even though you didn't tell him, you're not mechuyev to tell him. However, there's a gimel there. The gimel takes you to the sma.
What's it going to change? In the Rambam, you're going to be putter anyway, right?
No, you're going to be chayiv with everybody because now you're a stama pesheya.
No, now I'm not.
What does the Rambam care?
I'm not Bershus anymore.
Since I can make you not Bershus because you didn't warn him, you stopped in a way that's Bershus. I stopped in a way that's
You already have
Bershus,
it.
but I didn't.
You already have
If I
Bershus.
couldn't have warned him,
So
say,
then
why does me be, the Rambam doesn't care if I'm Pesheya, it's not
Exactly.
Bershus.
Because now it's a Bershus.
No, the Rambam doesn't care if you're pesheya, if you're Bershus, and the other guy's shaloi Bershus. But if you're both Bershus, then the pesheya would be mechayiv your pashtus. So the Sma says to look in Siman Tov Yud Gimel. In Siman Tov Yud Gimel, the Ramah says you're chayiv if you could have warned him.
You stopped short?
No, you stopped not short, but you could have told him that you stopped legally.
You would have seen that he had enough time to
You can't see someone stopping. You're walking, you don't see people stopping. You're walking in your way, the guy's been in front of you the whole journey, and now he stops to fix this thing. I get it. But he could have told me that he stopped. Why didn't he tell me?
Broken taillight?
Right. So what happens in that case? You should have had your brake lights checked. You didn't. Your brake lights are not working. So now you're permitted to stop, but you're not permitted to stop and not tell me. So could be that would change the halacha, but it's a big machlokes because here the mechaber doesn't go with that. The Ramah in Tov Yud Gimel does go with it, so it would be hard to be moitzi moment on that. Okay. Next case, Haya Bal Chavis Rishon. Here, the Bal Chavis is in front, the Bal Kura Achrein. Then obviously, if the guy in the back is going too fast and he mazik him, Vinish Bar Chavis Bal Kura Chayvim. Oh my Bal Chavis Lenuach. And if he stopped, Potter, then the guy in the back is Potter. Vim Hizel the Bal Kura. But if he told him I'm stopping, Chayiv. Vim Abad the Sakim Masoy Chayiv Bal Kura Aval Bishloi Ziroi Bal Chavis. So these are the rules that are mentioned over here. So many of us maybe learned Baba Kama Hamaniach like in young years, and you learn it. And no shy. It's like okay, nice story about a chavis and a kar, but in reality, these things are mamash negeya, mamash the highest level of dinim, and this is where the halachas come from. How to analyze these cases of accidents. Like I said, we still have not really discussed, which is obviously the most prevalent shaila, which is insurance. In other words, once you get insurance involved, what are you going to tell the insurance company? Okay, look, we deem you responsible. Yeah, but the Ramah Paskins I'm not. Right? So okay, well then how can you sue another yid with insurance when you know the psak of the insurance is going to go with the legal definition of responsibility, and halachically he's not responsible. So you're now being mitzi moment from him. You're taking him and suing him, and his insurance is going to have to pay a claim on something that halachically he's potter from. I'm talking about two from people and say, look, there's big damage here, and we're going to go to the insurance. Whatever the insurance says. Wait, who says you have the right to do that? This is a big shiloh. Because you're not allowed to sue people in court and go with amongst two yidden. You're not allowed to litigate al pi secular law. You have to use the halacha. So is it permitted in Israel? Obviously, this is very shaykh because the law is not reflective of Shulchan Aruch or Choshen Mishpat. So it's whatever, but anywhere really. So we'll try to touch on that maybe in the next shir. How to deal with the insurance claim.
That they're going to work with insurance. It's agreed to from the start already that they're going to go according to whatever.
The only way to get money from the insurance is you have to sue the individual.
Okay, you have to know exactly what the heter is. It's not so simple.
We've said in contracts, it's not like that.
In contracts, we said it's not like that. Yeah. What was that?
There's a lot of
Shkoyach.
there's a lot of crazy lawsuits that have happened in the sector law.
Yeah.
that have won, like the lady who stole coffee at McDonald's on her lap in a big lawsuit. So there's one that has always boggled my mind, is a guy who breaks into a house, and he gets locked in the garage, and he's there for several weeks, and he's forced to eat dog food to stay alive. And he sued, and he won. You know, so maybe it'd be